And it became this, like, I realized that this is literally the snippet that people understand about the American prison system. Did some big black guy rape you in the shower? A complete lack of understanding about what's really going on, and who's really in there, why they're in there, and what they're doing there, and what's going on in there. Prison is boring. It's boring. It is the most boring place you could ever be, punctuated by absolutely unbelievable bouts of violence. And then you go back to straight boredom. And it is the most impressive environment that you can imagine, because everything you think and say and do, every move you make is controlled. You can't go to the bathroom, you can't pick up something, you can't do anything without somebody giving you express permission, and if you step past that line, they beat the living snot out of you. And I didn't know what I was going to do about this. Came out and I realized that this system that we have is an entrenched system. And I didn't really understand why it was so entrenched, and that's what started this new journey. So the original idea behind Exile Nation was just to kind of talk about my experience, but then it became this, like, I want to understand this system. And I went and did all the work, and then I tried to, I got to the point where I understood the system intellectually, but what was missing was the emotional component. And in the process of starting to work with openDemocracy, and starting to work with the Sainsbury and Tedworth Trust, on a separate project, mind you, I came into this group of people, and a very good friend of mine, a spiritual author named Unheard Voices, who is, he's written about 30 books. He's an international Rumi expert, he's a poet. He encouraged me very strongly to approach the head of the foundation and to ask for assistance. This foundation will understand, like, these people are good people, and please ask them for help. And I had never done anything like that. I was really scared about doing this. I was really scared about putting my story out there. And so what ended up happening was I actually took a chance. I took a risk, and I asked them for help. And in the process of the discussions that we had, particularly with James Sainsbury, he's the head of the foundation, he was very encouraging, he was very supportive. I was completely blown away by this. And he said, let's do something more. Let's create a program. And Tony and I, we sat down and we said, well, what can we do that is going to create a human face for this issue? How are we going to connect with people? How are each one of you particularly, I'm looking at a sea of white faces here, right? And, we are the people that, have the ability both through economic means, through political means, to actually make change, right? And how do we take an issue that has been, pardon the use of the term, but has been ghettoized in the United States as a black issue, as a lower class issue? And yes, it is these things, and yes, these are the people that are most affected by it. But what people don't understand is who else has been caught up into this gigantic net, this leviathan known as the American war on drugs and the American prison system. And so we came up with the idea for the Unheard Voices Project. And what I wanted to do, I didn't really understand how it was going to unfold at the time, but what it ended up being was that I was able to travel around the country. I was able to meet some extraordinary people with extraordinary stories. And we got the idea of creating a permanent, free oral history project, a documentary archive. And I was inspired by Steven Spielberg's Shoah Foundation. I don't know if any of you know what the Shoah Foundation is, but this was the organization he put together following his Oscar-winning performance in Schindler's List. And he took all of this money and he put it in a foundation which would send people all over the world to find Holocaust survivors and to get their stories recorded for posterity so that we would always have a living record of what had happened during the Holocaust. Well, I have argued for years in my work that the war on drugs is a cultural Holocaust. And when you're talking about African Americans, it has wiped out 1, 2, 3 generations of males. It is now making deep inroads into the females. It is taking mothers and children and separating them. It is an absolute cultural Holocaust. When more black men are in prison than are in college, then you know you've got a system that is completely out of balance.